2, 1, and lift off.
That quote felt like the perfect way to start this video because I know that success has to start in your head. It starts as an idea, a thought, a dream before it ever becomes reality. And I have been fascinated by the psychology behind wealth and success for as long as I can remember. And of course, it's not just about thinking your way to becoming rich. It involves a lot more, and there are circumstances and factors that absolutely affect your trajectory. But having said that, in studying some of the wealthiest people in the world, I have found that there's a lot of commonalities and similarities in how they have programmed themselves to attract wealth, and I want to share them with you. In this video, I'm going to break down 4 examples and activities that I have learned from some of the wealthiest people in the world and how they've used them to reprogram their brain for wealth. If you're new here, my name is Sunny, and if you're not, welcome back to my channel. I have been an entrepreneur for over a decade. In the last 5 years, things have really skyrocketed, and I've made this channel to make entrepreneurship available to everyone and to reverse engineer my own growth and success so I can help you do the same. Because I believe that entrepreneurship is a vehicle to freedom, and that affords you the ability to make your unique impact on the world. A small thing you can do to help me achieve this mission and reach more people with this channel is to hit that like button so more people can see it in the algorithm. And I've even created a sacred space for this incredible community that we have here. You can find the link below to join that community. So the 4 exercises that we're gonna do is number 1, release your money story and create your financial future. The second is your magic money number. The third is find your vehicle. And the fourth is your $1 million plan. Let's do it. Number 1, release your money story and create your financial future. I talked about this briefly in last week's video, which you can check out here and in the description below, but essentially it means that you can't program your brain for wealth unless you understand how it's already been programmed, which oftentimes comes from our past, and it's rooted in our childhood and how we were taught about money. There are things like, I will never be able to create my financial future until I make more money. I'm never going to be able to afford the life that I want. I will always be poor. I'm not the type of person who deserves to be wealthy. Those are some common money stories and narratives. Let me know in the comments if you relate to any of those. We have to decide and understand that money is simply a tool. Money doesn't define you at all, and I absolutely love what Oprah says about wealth right here.
The whole idea of, I think, having wealth is not letting wealth use you, but you use it. And being a person who has come from an outhouse and very poor circumstances, I can assure you that the more money you get, it really doesn't change you unless you're the kind of person who is defined by money.
Some simple things that you can do to start reprogramming yourself and releasing that money story is to actually write it out. This is one of the best exercises I've ever done, and whenever I find myself feeling that scarcity creep in, I do this. Essentially, you want to write down a story about you as the main character and all of the beliefs that you have and have been taught about money. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that piece of paper and you're gonna burn it. Yes, you're gonna light it on fire and you're gonna burn it and release it, and do it as many times as you need to really get rid of that story, because it's not based in the truth for you and what you're capable of in the future. And then the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna look for proof. You're gonna look for people who have been able to achieve the success that you want to achieve in the industry, area, or category that you want to be successful in, so that you have idols and icons to look to. Before I had started my business or even thought it was possible, I started to follow and subscribe to the people who had achieved what I wanted to achieve, to remind myself that if they can do it, why can't I? So find imaginary mentors until you can get real ones. And a really good example of why this is so important is because in the last 2 years, it has been extremely challenging financially and in the economy. And yet we have seen people who had all of the odds stacked against them be able to create huge wealth and success for themselves. And we've also seen people who had everything lose it all. So that shows you that money is neutral. Money is a tool, and ultimately money is energy. So the more that you can rewrite your money story, the more you're going to be able to build your financial future. And in an effort to help you do that, I have created an affirmation that you can check out at the description below. And it's all about money, wealth, and abundance. And you can listen to it daily to reprogram your subconscious around money. Number 2 is your magic money number. There was a really interesting study done in 2018 all about what does the average person in the United States need to make to feel happy and fulfilled? And at the time, it was $95,000. That's gone up and down based on what's happened in the economy, but you need to pick out your own magic money number. And what it means is, what is the number that is going to allow you to cover your costs as a human being, but also to feel fulfilled and satisfied? And oftentimes, it's a lot lower than you think. If I ask you the question right now, how much money do you want to make? You're probably going to throw out a number like $1 million. Maybe not, but a lot of you will. And that is probably far beyond what you actually need to feel happy. And there was a really interesting part of the study that correlates money and happiness that I want to talk about in a second. But first, let's run through the exercise. So I actually did this exercise when I was getting my business off the ground. And basically, you want to write out 4 categories: housing, food, bills, and debt. Those are the 4 primary fundamental categories that you need to have covered in order to live a decent life. So how much is that costing you on a monthly, yearly basis? When you know that, that becomes your baseline. Then you can dictate and determine how much more you want to be making in order to really enjoy your life. Things like entertainment, travel, etc., the things that really matter to you. And what I found so interesting is when you do this exercise, really be conscious that you're not going aggressive and overshooting. Because what it said in this study back in 2018 is that you want to stick kind of close to your magic money number, because if you try to aim for higher, it generally means you're going to be working harder and have less free time, which makes you less happy. In addition, when you start to strive for way more money and wealth, you actually start to become more consumed with the external, the materialistic things. And again, that oftentimes is not going to lead to more happiness. And in fact, it said that if you do focus more on the external and get too caught up in how much money you're making, it can detract from your focus and negatively impact your well-being and your productivity. Something I find really interesting is Warren Buffett, who is worth $100 billion, has said he would be happy making $100,000 a year. Now, I know that's easy for him to say when you're worth $100 billion, but at the same time, I found his logic behind it really interesting. And the fact that he still lives in the home that he bought in the 1950s for $31,000. He could buy anything he wants and live anywhere he wants, but he said, I choose to live here because it's the memories and it's a happy home. So for him, he's prioritizing his happiness versus having this lavish home and lifestyle. Number 3 is identify your vehicle. And I am not talking about a Lambo, a Mercedes, a BMW. That is not the point of this video. What I mean is entrepreneurship is a vehicle, and it allows you to create the life that you envision for yourself. It gets you from point A to point B. In knowing that, you have to figure out what's your vehicle. What's gonna get you there? And speaking of Warren Buffett, he sat down with Forbes and Jay-Z in this really interesting interview. And Jay-Z talks about how music really was his vehicle out of completely different circumstances than where he is today.
You know, just so happened I had a talent to make music. And a guy by the name of Jazz, who I started out with really early, you know, he got the opportunity, he got to deal with EMI. He had the opportunity to go to London to record his album. And, you know, I went along with him and we waited for 2 months. Well, in that 2 months, there was a sting operation. And they took, you know, my friend I'm talking about, took him away for 13 years. And the only reason I was in there because I was away, you know, doing this music stuff.
So Jay-Z's was music, Oprah's was storytelling, empathy, and an interest in people. It really runs the gamut. I have seen my clients use vehicles like boat building and dancing and painting, which I talked about in my video on how to monetize any skill, which you can check out here and in the description. But I've seen so many different options and vehicles used to create financial freedom. And it really does lie in your story and your experience and your talents. So to help identify that, make sure you check out that video, but really start thinking, okay, what are all the things that I could see being my vehicle out of my current reality to what I want to create for myself? Number 4 is your $1 million plan. This is a really fun exercise and super powerful. So what I've noticed when I've studied some of the wealthiest people in the world is that it's never really about the money, and the money is not the end game. You have to determine what is the bigger reason that you want to create wealth for yourself. And a really great quote to sort of get you in the headspace to do this exercise is this: When you seek money or power for the sake of the ego, you spend energy chasing the illusion of happiness instead of enjoying happiness in the moment. When you seek money for personal gain only, you cut off the flow of energy to yourself and interfere with the expression of nature's intelligence. But when your actions are motivated by love, there is no waste of energy. When your actions are motivated by love, your energy multiplies and accumulates, and the surplus energy you gather and enjoy can be channeled to create anything that you want, including unlimited wealth. This is from the book, The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. Highly recommend it. Prime example of this is Sarah Blakely, who I talked about recently on my channel. She had $5,000 in her bank account, but she had a clear intention that she wanted to create something that she could sell to millions. She didn't know what that was, but she put out the intention and she started to set the plan in motion. All of a sudden, she's going to a dinner party. She puts on white pants. She doesn't like the way she looks in them. She cuts off the feet of the pantyhose. She puts the pantyhose underneath the pants. All of a sudden, she feels great and confident and looks amazing, and Spanx is born, which is now a $1 billion company. But take any other person with $5,000 in their bank account and no plan, I don't know if Spanx would exist today, or if any company would come out of that. With no intention and no plan, the action will never result. So we have to create your plan. We have to match the desire with the bigger purpose. We have to match the money with the meaning, because then the money and the impact is inevitable. So I want you to sit down and I want you to write down 10 things that you would do with $1 million. Not for yourself, not for personal gain, but how you could use that to be of service and to support others or missions that you really believe in. And you need to really believe that you have $1 million in your bank account right now. You need to match the energy and sort of meet the universe halfway when you're doing this. So match the energy of having $1 million in your bank account. Sit down and do this later today, tomorrow, this weekend, whatever you want to do, but create that space for yourself to feel it to be true and create a plan of action for what you would actually do with it. If you just want to make money for the sake of making money, that comes from a place of ego and scarcity. And that can create a lot of toxicity, and it doesn't actually allow you to attract that kind of wealth, because you're telling the universe you just need the money for the sake of needing the money because you're broke and you're poor. So essentially, you're just telling the universe you're broke and poor. And you're not actually creating any sort of master plan for what you're going to do with the money, how you're going to create an impact, and ultimately the vision that you want to create for yourself, your business, and your future. And without a plan, nothing happens. It costs nothing to reprogram your brain for wealth. And I know that every single person on the planet is worthy and deserving of creating the wealth and abundance that is meant for them and that is determined by them. Are you with me? I hope you got a lot out of this video, and I'm excited for you to try these exercises. Let me know in the comments below what your biggest takeaway was. Like I said, the mission of this channel is to make entrepreneurship available for everyone. So a small thing you can do to support that mission is click the like button so we can reach more people in the algorithm. Be sure to check out this video next, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.